You've been lied to about what you really need to start a business. Ugh, I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you. Actually, I'm not sorry because today we're going to get into what you actually need to start a business and what you don't really need. Spoiler alert, what actually matters when starting a business is probably not what you think or what you may have heard from some experts. I've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I'm here to share with you what I've learned because I've seen some patterns repeatedly among entrepreneurs, and one of those is overthinking and overcomplicating what you actually need to start a business. So often, we don't talk about what the real essentials are, and we're going to get into that today. Let's break it down. My name's Christine, and I'm an award-winning entrepreneur and business advisor. And I've spent over a decade in the financial industry, assisting business owners with access to capital and business planning and strategy. On this channel, I'm sharing some of the biggest secrets that I've learned over the years of coaching business owners and that I learned receiving my MBA from one of the top institutions in the country. Let's start with the things that you do not need to start a business. Number one is a business plan. I know you heard that you need a business plan in order to get started, but what if I told you that a business plan is actually just a tool? A business is not something that you start and then follow a step-by-step process. It requires you to iterate, to pivot. Like I mentioned, I've coached hundreds of business owners, and none of them who had a business plan in the beginning are doing what they said they were going to do in their business plan. Along your journey, you may start out with a product that serves consumers, but then you might decide that you have to change based on what happens in the market to serve businesses as your end customer instead of individual consumers. Or there may be some sort of regulatory change that upends everything and you have to completely shift your business model. So having a business plan is not a requirement in order for you to start a business. A business plan at the end of the day is really just a tool that you can use and have in your pocket for when you're getting ready to access financing, because different funders like banks, credit unions, and other types of funders may ask you for a business plan. I've actually reviewed probably thousands of business plans and pitch decks in my career. And so they're really just a tool that you can have in order to enable you to access financing when you get to that juncture in your journey. But you don't need a business plan to start a business. Number two, you do not need a business degree. And yes, I am saying this as someone who has an MBA. This old thing back here, you don't need it to start a business. Fun fact, a lot of MBA programs were actually structured to train people to be managers primarily in corporate America, not to be entrepreneurs or business owners. A lot of the skills that you learn in business school actually aren't that applicable to running a business. There are certain things, for example, being able to navigate ambiguity, time management, and prioritization. These things are not taught in business school, right? So it's definitely not a requirement. A lot of business owners get their start based on an industry expertise, right? So if you have a particular industry that you've been in for years and you know the ins and outs of that industry and you've seen a specific problem in that industry that you feel equipped to come up with solutions for, that may actually be much more valuable than having this specialized business knowledge that you get from a business degree. So you do not need an MBA or even an undergraduate degree in, say, business management or marketing to start a business. I'm really excited because I'm going into a series on some of the top learnings that I got from my MBA, some of the ins and outs, kind of that insider knowledge that I got from getting my MBA. These are things that people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn, and I'm breaking them down into a series on Instagram, so make sure that you're following along there so you can get those insights. The third thing that you don't need to start a business is a business entity. Like, you don't need to incorporate your business, and you also don't need a business bank account. If you don't even have customers yet and you're still figuring out exactly what your business is going to look like, you don't need to incorporate an LLC or other business structure just to get started with your business. Now, if you haven't taken the 2 steps that I outlined to test the viability of your business idea in the last video, make sure you go back and watch it because I give you the two-step process that will give you an idea if the business idea that you have is even viable and worth pursuing. Make sure that you take those two steps first. Now, I say this with a caveat as a financial expert, right? You do definitely want to keep your business expenses and revenue separate from your personal and business revenue. But if you're just starting out, you're testing things out, you're trying things out, and you're not even sure if this is something that you are going to pursue, then it's okay to wait to register your LLC. Take that time to test out, decide kind of what your initial products are going to be, make sure that you have a market and potential customers that are experiencing a painful problem that you're solving for before you decide to set up your LLC or other business entity and really incorporate the business and open your business bank account. In the meantime, if you do start having paying customers, just make sure that you're tracking your expenses and revenue that are coming in and the expenses that are going out so that you know what's personal and what's business. But this is not something that you need to do right away with starting a business. The fourth thing that you don't need to start a business is funding. Now, I'm all for there being more pots of capital to help businesses get off the ground, especially for those of us who have been so under-resourced and underrepresented when it comes to access to capital. However, going to a bank and trying to get startup capital, it's just, one, they don't really do that and they're not set up to do that. And two, if you were looking at other types of investors, such as kind of venture capitalists or equity investors, angel investors, even a lot of them are still looking for you to have some revenue, and you definitely have to have a proven concept and traction in order to get funding from them. So what I see funding as is when you get to a juncture in your business where you have a huge growth opportunity. There's something in front of you. Say you've been making personal care products and you've been selling from your own website, maybe doing pop-ups, selling in other stores, and you get this opportunity to sell your products in a major retailer. They want to make a huge order to buy your products, and you wouldn't be able to fulfill that order without some extra capital to help you fulfill that order. That's the example of a huge growth opportunity. So you don't need funding to get started. I actually have a model called How to Be Your Own Angel Investor for those who are starting a business and have a 9-to-5. I'm excited to share more about that soon. But you do not need outside capital to start your business. Going into the bank and asking them for a loan when you're just starting out, yeah, that's just not the move, right? You don't need funding to get started because of what we're going to talk about in what you do need to start a business. Let's get into step one of that. Now, like I said, these are the things that people don't actually tell you that often. It's not what you're going to hear the experts tell you. But what I have found in my years of coaching hundreds of business owners and being a business owner myself, one of the most important things is having a vision for your business and where you're headed and the impact that you want your business to have, and having a spiritual practice that keeps you connected to that vision. Being an entrepreneur can be so hard. It can be grueling, especially in the early days, right? When you're still figuring out your business model, figuring out who your customers are, figuring out and kind of honing in on the pain point or what you want to try out as that first solution that you're bringing to market. There's so much ambiguity and questions, and even kind of within yourself, there can be kind of self-doubt. Like, it can be so hard. And so knowing where you're headed, knowing that big vision, knowing what you believe your purpose is and how you're fulfilling that purpose through your business is so huge. And then on a daily basis, having some sort of spiritual practice that keeps you connected to that vision. So I remember a time early in my business when things were so tough and I was thinking about giving up because I was just like tearing my hair out, like, this is so hard, but I just remembered this vision that I had in the early days of having a call with one of my clients and her telling me how much my business had helped her and made her feel supported along her journey and had equipped her and connected her to the tools and resources that she needed to grow her business. And so she had just launched a new product and she was so excited about it, because my vision for my business is to connect women to the funding and resources that they need to grow their businesses and build wealth. And I saw myself in that vision doing it and remembered that vision. And it helped me get through this really, really rough patch that I was having in my business. And the spiritual practice that helps me stay connected to it is meditating, right? Remembering my vision, journaling. I pray as well. So, whatever that is for you, make sure you're implementing a spiritual practice on a daily basis that keeps you connected to the vision that you are headed toward with your business. Number two, what you definitely need to start a business is a support system. Entrepreneurship is a marathon and you can't do it on your own. You need your cheerleaders on the sidelines as you are running this marathon of entrepreneurship. So think of who that is in your life. Definitely having like family members who may not be super intimately involved with the business, or they may, right? But that they're just there to support you, to hear you vent. And then you want also accountability partners and people who are fellow business owners who you can talk to about the specific issues that you're facing in your business and kind of problem solve and hold each other accountable. And also having people who are familiar with that journey of being business owners so you can relate and complain, commiserate, whatever it may be, that you can just kind of lift each other up. I've done multiple accelerators for my own business, so I recommend looking into different accelerator programs, incubators, even co-working spaces where you're coming together and having that support. Shout out to one of the most supportive communities that I've been a part of is the Digital Undivided community, and being a part of their big cohort. Look for these different entrepreneurial communities and join in because you need that support system. I'm not going to lie, it can be so lonely, it can be scary. So having that support system, both personally, professionally, and business specific, is so key. Let's get into number three. It all comes down to the pain point that your business is solving for. You need people who are facing a really painful problem, so painful that they are willing to pay you for the solution that you're going to offer to help them with their pain. So there's this phrase that we say in the startup and entrepreneurial world, and that is that your product needs to be medicine and not a vitamin, right? Something that people need, something that if people don't have it, they don't have access to it, then they're going to be experiencing pain. You need to find that customer group, that group of people, plug in with that group of people that you know are facing a really painful problem, that you, with your skills and your expertise, your passion, you are the one who is equipped to come up with a solution that helps solve the pain that they are facing. This could be based on your career, your industry expertise, a problem that you have intimately faced yourself in your own life. Whatever it is, in order for you to have a business that has paying customers that are going to keep your business alive, keep your business bringing in the revenue for you to keep going, is people who are facing this painful problem such that they're willing to pay for a solution for it. And that really leads into number four of what you need to start a business is that you need to make sure that there's market demand. And that's what you find out in your testing phase that we talked about in the last video. I'll just give you an example and break it down. Say you live in a really small town and you're thinking about starting a coffee shop. And you find out in your customer research that people in your town actually don't even really like coffee that much. They're just not into it, right? And you find out that they're satisfied with the option that is already available in your town, and not having access to a coffee shop isn't really that painful to them. It's like, maybe in your customer discovery interviews, you hear things like, it's not really that big of a deal to me that there isn't a coffee shop. Like, I'm good. I like what I currently do. I make my tea at home. And I love that. I love my ritual of making my tea at home. And these are some of the things that you hear in your customer discovery. Probably don't have enough market demand for a coffee shop if these are the kinds of insights that you're taking away based on your market, right? Your small town, and the potential customers there and what you hear from them. So there are a lot of resources out there on how you can find out a little bit more about the market that you're looking to operate in and kind of the size of the market and the dynamics of the market and even some of the kind of go-to industry metrics for your market. So I'll share a few of those resources for you to look more into. But the main thing that you want to make sure is that this is a large market and that there's demand for it, right? And that as we talked about in number three, that the solution that you plan to offer, that you're going to offer based on what you hear in your customer discovery, is something that's painful enough that this problem that people are facing, that they're willing to pay for a solution. Another really awesome resource on creative ways that you can get started on your business without outside funding, right? Because unfortunately, there's a lot more work that we have to do. And I am committed to being a part of that work to increase access to different capital sources, even for newer businesses, right? But there's a couple of really cool resources on how you can actually fund your business through your customers and just different creative ways. So I'll share that below as well. There are a lot of lies and myths out there about what you actually need to start a business. But today I gave you a breakdown of what you really don't need that you so often hear that you do and what you actually need to start a business. So let me know which of these lies that you've heard the most about and that maybe you want to talk a little bit more about. Let me know which one of those things to start a business that you're going to tap into more. And let's keep each other accountable. Let's start our businesses because this is about making an impact on our families, on our communities. There's people out there who need what you have to offer through your solution. So let's put these into practice. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.